Hey students, how are you all? Once again, welcome back to another interesting session of your online English classes. What do you think about this picture? Does it look nice to you? Is it a pleasant picture? Or does this picture make you happy? The answer must be a big no, right? Now students, what you can see in front of you is nothing but lots and lots of wastage and garbage dumped in places where they shouldn't have been dumped. Yes, the water has been made dirty, the land has been made dirty, and I hope this dirtying the land and dirtying the water, the terms that are used for these, I hope you already know of these. These are called water pollution and land pollution. Yes, so the purpose behind showing you this picture is to make you guess what exactly is our topic of discussion for today's class. I hope you've already got your answer, because this particular concept of wastage refers to one particular chapter of your literature book. And what is it? Yes, you are absolutely correct. Today's topic of discussion is the chapter Wonderful Waste, and this happens to be the very second chapter of your literature book, Marigold. Now, this video is the very first video in the series, and today we are going to discuss only the first part of this particular chapter. Before we delve deeper into the discussion of this chapter, it is very important for you to know the meaning of the word waste. Now, the concept of waste or wastage or garbage is very familiar to you, right? But how would you define it? This is how you would define it. So, the word waste can be used as a noun as well as a verb. So, when it is used as a noun, what does it mean? It means anything that is unwanted or unusable material or substance. So basically, when we don't want something, or when we are going to throw it away, or when it is of no use to us, that is called a waste. And waste is also a verb. That means to use carelessly. Okay? And in this particular chapter, or in the topic of this chapter, Wonderful Waste, in this particular phrase, the word waste is a noun. It is not a verb. So, don't get confused. So, let us begin the chapter. Once, the Maharaja of Travancore ordered a grand dinner in his palace. Alright. So, in the very beginning, we get to deal with the Maharaja or a king. And this king is a king of a place called Travancore. Now, where exactly is Travancore? Let us find out. Alright students, now pay attention to this picture. As you can see, it is already written in the middle that the kingdom of Travancore, also known as the kingdom of Travancore, was an Indian kingdom from circa 1729 until 1949. Okay, so the place Travancore was not a city or was not even a state, but was a kingdom. And what exactly is a kingdom? It is a territory or a land ruled by a king. And it was also known as, it was not just called the kingdom of Travancore, but was also called the kingdom of Travancore. Alright, so this is a place which was in existence from the year 1729 till 1949. So even 2 years after the independence of our country, this particular kingdom existed. If you look closely at the left hand side of the screen, you'll find out there is a map of India. This is a map where you can find out that at the very bottom of the map there is a red demarcation, there is a red boundary, and within that the pink portion or the pink colored land is the kingdom of Travancore. And on the right hand side of your screen you can see a closer picture of the land of Travancore or the kingdom of Travancore. In the present day, it covers the land, a little bit of land of Kerala and Tamil Nadu. Alright, so that the Maharaja of Travancore had ordered a grand dinner in his palace. What happens afterwards? In the afternoon, before the dinner, the Maharaja entered the kitchen to survey the dishes that had been prepared for the feast. Alright, so he's not just the Maharaja of his palace, but he's also the host to his guests. Right, so he had to make sure that he would be checking on if everything was going on perfectly or not. So when you have guests coming over to your house, you must have seen your parents in a hustle and bustle, right? They are, they're making sure that everything is in proper place. Your mother makes sure that the food that is going to be served to them is being cooked properly, is being cooked nicely, and your father takes care of the other things, right? So as the host, the Maharaja also did the same thing. So the dinner was going to take place at night. Before the dinner in the afternoon, what he did was he entered the kitchen to survey the dishes. Now what exactly is meant by survey? Let us find out. The word survey means to closely examine something. In this case, the Maharaja has entered the kitchen and he is surveying the dishes. That means he is taking a close look at what exactly is being prepared for the feast. So every time you closely look at something, or you pay attention to something, or you examine something, you are surveying it. So the Maharaja entered the kitchen, and he not just entered it, he also closely looked at the dishes that were being prepared for the feast at night. "What are you going to do with those vegetable scraps?" he asked the cook, pointing to the basket of scraps near the cook. So who is a cook? A cook is a person who is cooking dishes. Yes, he or she is the chef. So this cook in the kitchen was asked by the Maharaja that what exactly was he going to do with the vegetable scraps. Now students, we already know what vegetable scraps are, right? But let us still have a look at its definition. The words vegetable scraps are very easy to define. So it basically means peels or parts of vegetables that are thrown away. Alright, so now students, this is a very common phenomena in all our homes, right? We've seen our mothers cutting, chopping and peeling vegetables and then throwing away the peels or the discarded part of the vegetable into the dustbin. The same thing was done by the cook as well. But the Maharaja of Travancore doesn't seem to like it. He's asking the cook what exactly is he going to do with the vegetable scraps. Let us see what happens next. So when the cook is asked by the Maharaja about what he is going to do with the vegetable scraps, the cook replied, "They are waste. We will throw them away." Now, this is something that we know, right? This is a very logical answer. What do we do to the peels or the parts of vegetables and fruits? We just throw them away, right? We do not use it for anything else because it cannot be used. "You cannot waste all these bits and pieces of vegetables. Find a way to use them," the Maharaja commanded sternly and walked away. Alright, now the Maharaja of Travancore does not like the cook's response. He doesn't like the fact that the cook is going to throw away the peels of the vegetables. So, instead of that, what does he direct him to do? He tells him that they cannot waste these bits and pieces of vegetables and that the cooks have to find a way to use these vegetable peels. Alright, and this is not just an order, he commanded sternly. Commanded means an order, command is a synonym of order, and sternly means in a very strict manner. Now we'll find out what happens next. What does the cook do afterwards? We'll have to find out in the next video. Now that we have discussed the first part of this particular chapter, Wonderful Ways, let us quickly go through a summary of all the important points discussed in today's video. Our very first point of discussion was that Travancore is also known as Travancore. The Maharaja of Travancore once ordered a grand feast in his palace. Next, to check the arrangements, he entered the kitchen and found some unused vegetable scraps. When the Maharaja learned from the cook that the scraps would be thrown away, he was not pleased. He ordered the cook to find a way to reuse the waste vegetable scraps. Now, what does the cook do with the vegetable scraps is something we will find out in the next video. Now, it's time for you to answer some very easy questions based on today's discussion. So, the very first question is, why did the Maharaja enter the kitchen? The second question is, what was the cook ordered to do? Number 3, what had the cook planned to do with the vegetable scraps? Now, students, these are very easy questions and I hope you'll face no difficulty in answering these. But even if you do, then please go through the first part of the chapter, read it very carefully, and if you still have problems in understanding, then you can watch the video once again. Alright students, with this we come to the end of the discussion of the very first part of Wonderful Ways. The next parts would be discussed in the upcoming videos. Until then, stay safe and goodbye.